Welcome to City Talk, and you might ask yourself a question we ask ourselves all the time around the city county building. What do these people do all day? Let's say hello to our first guest on this episode, Assistant Chief Mark Pinchalk of the Department of Emergency Medical Services. Chief, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
So I guess you're in management now, but like everybody else, or most everybody else in this department, you started out on the streets as an EMT.
Yeah, actually was hired as a paramedic. I started with the city back in 1990, and I worked in the field till 2014 when I got promoted into the administrative staff.
14 years. You must have seen quite a bit in those times.
Yeah, there's a lot of variety. I mean, the city's a high volume system, so we see a lot of patients and we see a lot of sick people and a lot of different patient mixes.
And I'm guessing a lot of challenge just getting to them sometimes, especially in the winter months.
Yeah, winter is obviously a challenge. Traffic, construction, large events. There's a lot of different things that can cause us problems from time to time, but we make do and get through it.
So when you were a young man and people were saying, I want to be a fireman or I want to be a baseball player, did you think to yourself, I want to be an emergency medical technician? Or how did you develop this interest?
I think it's a career a lot of people have an interest in, getting involved in medicine and emergency medicine. Like I said, a lot of people kind of feel like I'll do this for a couple of years and then move on to something else. But then, people have a passion for it and get involved in a lot of stuff, tend to stick around and make it a career.
So let's talk about a couple of major events during your time, both as an EMT and as a manager. You were there, well, just recently helping out with the bridge collapse.
Yeah, I was part of our response. That was a good team effort there. Fortunately, it did not end up being a large problem as far as having a lot of severely injured people or people entrapped. So from an operational standpoint, it wasn't a big problem, but we had a good team of our personnel and obviously worked with police and fire and the rest of public safety to mitigate that problem.
Were you freaked out at all when you first got to the scene? That must have been quite a sight to behold.
Yeah, I wouldn't say freaked out. It's kind of like you get into decision-making mode and you take a look at it. It's a little bit surprising at first, but then it's come over, hey, what objectives do we need to accomplish? What do we need to get done? And how do we do that? So we integrated in what we call an incident command system.
Well, and what were you working on? What were you able to get done?
So I interfaced with the first district chief on scene who assumed incident commander, who was Antoine Carter. And we discussed the situation and we didn't have anyone down below in the ravine at that point. So he asked me if I'd go down and take charge of the operation down there. So I made my way down with some police officers and there were some firefighters there. And then we took care of some injured personnel down below.
And another huge event that you took part in organizing the response to was, of course, the tragic Tree of Life shootings. How did you handle that?
Yeah, so we had actually a few months before that happened, put together a joint public safety active shooter, active threat response plan. So we had a preliminary plan we had built and actually had been jointly training on. So we weren't completely trained as an organization at that point. Some of our people were trained. So we kind of managed the problem as planned. We had a plan for how we would work with police and insert personnel in that situation and go for casualties and stuff. So we went pretty well. We executed that mission as planned. So it was a very tragic event with a lot of loss of life, but we take some solace in the fact that once we got into there, everyone who's still alive survived at the time we got in.
That's amazing to me that a plan that you're just preparing for a hypothetical and who could imagine what actually happened actually worked so well. That's a credit to your planning, obviously.
Yeah, and I used to, when we were teaching the classes, I would always start off, hey, well, this will probably never happen here, but this was just an opportunity to train together and make us better at fundamentals of medical care and integrated operations. So obviously don't say that anymore, but we had worked together as a department to come up with a plan for that contingency, and we were able to make it work when the time came.
Chief Pinchalk, where are you from originally?
From Mount Lebanon, so just south of the city line.
Born and raised, and then where'd you go to school?
I went to Mount Lebanon High School and then the University of Pittsburgh for my bachelor's degree, and I got a master's through Drexel University.
And what was the bachelor's and the master's in?
Bachelor's was in natural sciences areas. That's the College of General Science or night school didn't have a biology program, so that was as close as I could get. And then There used to be a branch campus out here for Drexel, not anymore, but I did public safety and emergency services administration.
Well, you mentioned you had to obviously automatically keep your cool under fire at the bridge collapse. I guess that's part of the doing what you do, is that you have to be able to take a deep breath and be calm about whatever your next activity is, because in some cases, life and death is riding on it.
Yeah, and it's I think it's just a function of experience. That's what everyone in every position in the organization needs to do when we face a problem. And I think it's just getting years of experience and seeing a lot of different stuff and different volumes of stuff. I think the longer you do the job, the better you are at doing that. But we have some very young employees that are very good at taking that deep breath and just working and managing problems.
It's good to know. Now, I'm told that across the country, they're having trouble recruiting paramedics these days, but the problem isn't as bad in Pittsburgh. Is that right?
No, we're in pretty good shape. We're pretty close to our maximum budgeted number of positions. So we're in good shape. Our system has a good reputation nationally, and our compensation package is a little bit above everyone else around us. So we've been keeping up with the problem. I know other areas of the state and across the country are having significant issues right now, but we're still in pretty good shape here.
Was it strange at all initially making the transition from a worker bee to a manager? I'm not implying that managers don't work, of course they do, but you know what I mean, from not running the show to running the show.
Yeah, it is. In a way, it's nice because you can build the system you want to build it now, and make decisions and just implement programs that I want to implement. The hard part is not being out in the field and physically working with everyone and doing the job all the time. So I get out, obviously on occasions, and larger incidents or sometimes stop at more routine calls, but I do miss that part of it.
So as I understand it, when you like to engage in recreational activities, one of them is that you like to hike. You're a hiker.
Yeah, I really love going to national parks. My family with a couple of friends, we're going to go out west this summer down to Glacier National Park. I've never been out there, but really like going to like Shenandoah National Park and some of the other national parks in this region, and getting out, doing some hiking. And I have a wife and 2 girls, so they're not big on camping, but we'll stay in the national park lodges and stuff. So that's as close as I can get them.
Well, that's a good compromise. How are they at the hiking, even if they don't like the camping?
They like the hiking. I mean, if it's nice and beautiful scenery and good weather, everyone's pretty happy doing some hikes.
Cool. So you'd recommend a career in government service, and specifically a paramedic or an EMT pathway?
Definitely. Like I said, you have to have the passion for it. It's not for everyone, but if it's for you, it's a good job. Like I said, our compensation locally is pretty good. And the sky's the limit as far as opportunity. It's what you make of it. And I tell new hires, if you want to come in and just kind of get by, we're a big system, you can generally do that. But if you want to excel, you want to get involved in a lot and have a lot of opportunities for career growth and research and helping people, it's all stuff our system allows people.
Well, it sounds like your hobby of hiking is perfect for COVID, because you don't have to be around a lot of other people to enjoy yourself. How have you and your family been coping with COVID?
We've been good. In the early days when everyone was kind of sheltering in place, we had Netflix. We never really watched it a whole lot, so we watched a lot of series on Netflix. And then my older daughter and I went out and did a lot of hiking on the weekends during that first year, and found a lot of nice places in southwestern PA to go hike and find waterfalls and that kind of stuff. So there are up and downs to it, but we spent a lot more time as a family, I think, which was good.
All right. Well, I won't keep you. Any final words for the people who watch City Channel Pittsburgh?
We've all been through a lot this last couple of years. Hopefully we're close to things getting a lot better. Just ask people, the pandemic's still out there. Keep mitigating, wear a mask in public, get your vaccinations. And hopefully come this spring, we'll be in a much better place.
All right. EMS Chief Mark Pinchalk, thank you so much for joining us on City Talk.
Thanks a lot for having me.
Nice to see you. And when we come back, we'll meet somebody from the Department of Innovation and Performance. Stay with us. Welcome back to City Talk. Let's meet somebody from my department within the city of Pittsburgh, the Department of Innovation and Performance. We're the tech people. We run the computers and such. Say hello to Alaa Mohamed, who has joined us recently in the department. Alaa, welcome to the program.
Hi, John. Thanks for having me.
So I have a really drab background here. It's just a whiteboard in the Daisy Lampkin conference room, but you've got some like really cool, colorful stuff behind you. What on earth is that?
Yeah, one of my housemates is really into action figurines and anime and Pokemon. So he's got quite the collection in the room that I'm in right now, and thought it would make a good background.
Now, is this a housemate who's a grown-up but a child at heart?
Yes. Aren't we all? Isn't that really all of us?
I suppose so, yes.
I think it's the best part of work from home life, is seeing what the homes, like the homes that come up on screen behind people. What's behind you? You have something written on the whiteboard behind you.
Whiteboard, I had written City Talk earlier, as you can see. But one thing, it looked like, some third grader or either that or some drunk had written it. And so I thought I would just sit in front, forget that I'd ever tried it.
I like it.
All right. So what do you do for the Department of Innovation and Performance?
I just got hired on as a senior civic innovation specialist as a part of the innovation team within INP.
Well, hoopty freaking do. That sounds like some responsibility.
Well, I hope so. It's been a lot of fun. And I mean, I'm just over a month in right now, so still learning about my job, but it's been really fun.
So among the things you do is to hook up potential startups out there in the community somewhere with city agencies that might be able to help them, and or startups that might have some useful information with city agencies that might need some help.
Yes. I think that the civic innovation team is kind of like an engine driver for some of the city's priorities, some of the mayor's priorities. We know the things that we want to improve in the city, and we know some of the problems that we want to address. And so we also know that there are innovators out there outside of the city that are doing some really great things to help address these problems in an innovative way. And we don't want the city to fall behind on those kinds of innovations. So we think it's really important for both to get exposure to the kinds of things happening outside the technologies that we can be bringing into the city to help address civic problems, but also to build connections with those innovators, those people that are on the front lines of solving civic problems.
So how do you find them, or how do they find you? Do startups just kind of know that there might be some government agency that might be useful and just go looking around?
Well, right now we have a program called PGH Lab, and that program is what or marketing that program is what we currently rely on to reach people. We put out press releases, we use our social media platforms, we use word of mouth. I am not the first person to have this job. There have been two predecessors before me, Etha Cow and Anya Ailman, both of whom have done a lot of really amazing work to build relationships. And so as we build those relationships with the community, we leverage them to then spread word about the kinds of partnerships we're looking for within the program.
So you were able to hit the ground running, perhaps more than your predecessors, because they've laid a lot of good groundwork.
They did a lot of really great work. I also have a partner in crime within civic innovation, Trevor Saul, who I think you've interviewed also before, but he also has done a lot of work in making my transition really smooth. I also come from city government, so I worked for just over 2 years with the city of Pittsburgh before this role. And so I also have an advantage there where I have some pre-existing knowledge and relationships within the city as well.
So you worked for the previous mayor in that capacity?
Yes, I was a policy coordinator for Mayor Peduto.
So you were born in Egypt, which I think is a really interesting and fun fact.
Yeah, I was. I was there until the age of 5 or 6.
How much of those years do you remember? How much of that culture do you remember?
Well, I've been back since we've left. I've been back every couple of years, so I have a pretty good understanding of my culture, my heritage, but I also actually have quite a few memories of those first 5 years of my life as well, even before moving to the United States. I remember coming to the United States, landing at JFK. It was the winter, and so I remember stepping outside and like being amazed at the tree branches and how there were absolutely no leaves. There was nothing there. Yeah, I have a few memories from that time.
So your parents obviously decided to come to this country. Where did they locate?
First, we were in New Jersey. We were in a town in New Jersey called North Brunswick. And then we relocated to central Pennsylvania. We were in New Jersey for 2 years, and then we moved to central PA, and we moved around a little bit, but I've grown up basically in central PA most of my life.
What was that like?
Well, it was, I don't know how to answer that question.
It wasn't
It's not
terribly exciting. It wasn't exciting every
not
minute.
a lot of things happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a lot to do. Maybe that's a good thing for someone who is still getting used to a new country, a new culture, trying to like understand the world around them. It's also not the most diverse place in the world, and so it was also an experience in that way too.
All right. So what brought you to Pittsburgh?
Well, I visited Pittsburgh when I was in high school, and at the time I was interested in medicine. And the University of Pittsburgh obviously is really well positioned for pre-med courses with all of the different amazing eds and meds in the region. It's a really appealing place to be. Also, to be honest with you, something about leaving central PA and that rural life and coming to Pittsburgh reminded me of Alexandria, which is where I was born. And so I was like, this kind of feels like the place to be. And I will also say, I looked up the Cathedral of Learning and it reminded me of Harry Potter. So that was also a selling point.
Well, it sounds like you found the right place. Did you go to school here?
I did. I went to the University of Pittsburgh for 4 years, and I'm actually a student right now too at Carnegie Mellon University.
Oh, getting a advanced degree?
Yeah, I'm getting a master's of public management.
Good for you. I mean, you must be awfully busy between a job and CMU.
I think that's true.
How have you been coping with COVID?
Well, I've been doing a lot of moving around, living with different people at different times, trying to figure out how do you maintain close relationships with people in a healthy way during a global pandemic. I've also been cooking a lot, at least at the beginning of the pandemic when everyone first discovered how to bake bread. That was a big, I was one of those people.
And are you any good at it?
Say that again?
Are you any good at it, baking bread?
No, I cannot claim that, no. However,
Okay.
I do have friends who are good at making bread and I enjoy eating their bread. So,
Fair enough.
a lot of cooking, a lot of reading. I have been reading a lot. And then I went back to school during that first year of the pandemic too. So I found different ways to keep myself busy.
Sounds like you'd recommend a career in government service.
I actually would recommend that for everyone should at some point in their life work for local government just to know how things run.
And are you surprised that there are actually a lot of dedicated, intelligent people as opposed to a bunch of lazy, cigarette smoking, crinkly faced, not so great people?
Well, all things in balance, but I am not surprised. I think that Pittsburgh in particular, one of the reasons why I was interested in working for the city was to better understand how to make the city better for people like me. And I think Pittsburgh's been improving drastically for the last several decades. And I knew that coming in, and it was just amazing to get to meet the people that were on the front lines of that change and get to learn from them.
What would you like to do with your master's degree?
I mean, that's a big question for me, and I think I'm still trying to figure that out. I think that it opens up a few different paths. I can stay within government, and there's a lot of ways that the tools that I'm learning about right now will aid that kind of career within government. Or I can move into different kinds of ways of trying to figure out what's the best lever of impact that I want to use to make this world better. So yeah, I think that's something I'm still trying to figure out.
You think you'll ever run for office?
Right now, I can't say that that's something that I have thought about, but never say never.
That's the spirit. All right. Alaa Mohamed, thank you so much for joining us on City Talk. It was a delight talking to you.
Thank you so much, John. Have a good day.
You too. That is it for this edition of City Talk. We will see you next time around.